All I wanted to do was anything but World of Warcraft, which is what I'd worked on previously. The test was asking for someone who could draw something for a realistic first-person shooter, and there were implications on the test that was implying kind of thing, and I was thinking to myself, oh man, that's totally what I want to do, man. I'm so geared up for this.
At the time, Sony didn't really have like a premier, like, gangbusters FPS hit, so we were thinking, we were just like, we had lunch and we were like, what if, could that be us?
And we were starting to brainstorm. We get together and we brainstorm frequently about what the story could be, what the kind of the gist of the game was. I think very early on we decided, though, it was clearly about aliens. In the original story, it was all about time travel.
Right, I was going to say it was a big, kind of a big space opera, more of like a science fiction, out in outer space opera kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And there was this other game called Halo or something that seemed kind of similar at the time.
That one was more of a romantic comedy, so I think we had a distinction.
And that one scene from was kind of what inspired us from the beginning.
With that one scene where like 1,000 enemies are coming over the sand dunes, and you're like, whoa, like what if you could do that in FPS? So that was, that's not a world or a hook or anything, but that was kind of like our idea of what if we could somehow kind of get that kind of quantity, that kind of there's that kind of spectacle into an FPS.
A lot of people here at the company felt it wasn't grounded. Like there wasn't a whole lot of, I don't know, there wasn't a good foundation for the story. So yeah, time travel, traveling, going to meteors that had big wormholes in them, it didn't give players anything to hold on to.
Yeah. You can't really connect as much.
Exactly.
When did you guys decide to do with the 1950s instead of the alternate history, instead of going like contemporary times or something like that?
Well, it started out as World War I.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah,
and there were biplanes when I first showed up.
And then I think we realized that it was going to be hard to sell that one too, because World War I is kind of an out there concept, and the weapons weren't as cool.
The science fiction at the time, there wasn't any resistance in War of the Worlds. It was really by luck and by act of God that these guys won. Whereas if you look at more of from World War II on, people got to mount a resistance.
Right, more of a guerrilla warfare and fighting back. Yeah, totally.
As the idea was that if the Chimera started in Russia and spread across the Asia and then across Europe, Britain would probably be the last place that they'd hit, simply because they'd have to cross the English Channel, and we were presupposing that the Chimera weren't very good with water. And Britain had time also to create a great defense network, and we're probably going to be more likely to hold out than any other country. Well, they started out as a lizard-ish race, big lizards with tails.
Geiger-esque for a while there, weren't they?
Were they? I
remember the tentacles. I mean, some of the early drawings. It was really early. It was like kind of Geiger-inspired.
The idea was that it was very lizard-like, but now we had this kind of skull head. What ended up happening was that it looked very duck-like, and it drove me nuts. And so
I still see that image all over the place. By the way, that first Chimera with his mouth open, right?
It was that, and also what was prominently featured in that was the gun, and that drove me nuts too. So literally at lunch, I just started. I took the Chimerian head and I started redrawing it, and then I took the gun and I totally redrew it and said, oh, could we rough it out? Maybe we could show it to Ted. Maybe we can at the next iteration, like get this in. And that's how the carbine came out, and sort of the new Chimerian head. It was just me just frustrated at this image. I remember we did a ton of storyboards, and the environment concept artist did some great sort of Top Gun looking aircraft carrier things that was, they're never going to see it.
But our intention originally was to start the story on the aircraft carrier and explain how Hale starts off right before the invasion and has to navigate through the ship, learning about the background on the way, and then ends up getting into a VTOL and leaving. But we couldn't get that level done, so we ended up just using it for a cinematic.
It ended up being a major problem, though, because that was all of our training was in there.
That's true. Yes, that's right.
And it was a big storytelling step piece. So a lot of the story we were going to tell was just going to come across in dialogue through here. And so when we cut that, we lost our training and kind of our introduction to the character and everything. So we had to just find other solutions to all of that.
I remember thinking, I don't know if we're going to be able to get this out on time, but we will. We will somehow do it. And I think everybody kind of felt that way. We just knew that we needed to get it done because there was such a great opportunity.
I think the last 6 to 8 weeks or so in particular, the two of you guys and Mark Cerny were playing the games a lot, and we were
Yeah.
just getting like a lot of feedback of,
That's right. We went through all the setups,
guys
wrote
did, yeah,
lists
like-
and lists of things that needed
You guys
to be
did what
fixed.
amounted to like a
Yeah.
complete rescripting of the game in like 2 months.
Resistance 61513 asked about some cut weapons or cut gadgets. And
That's the grappling hook, right? Yeah, the grappler.
I remember one of the reasons we cut it, two reasons. One, it became an uber weapon, so that if you used it against any enemy, it would be an auto kill. And since it had no ammo, you pretty much could use it on everybody. And the second one was we were worried about people dragging physics objects into awkward places and either getting
It
stuck.
created a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I think if we had like 3 more months, we could have gotten it in. But I mean, as it was, this is a launch title, and we were so close to the wire, just getting everything done. We needed to focus on a few things that were going to be the best, and that one was just like, okay, we can basically cut 1,000 bugs right now if we don't have this.
so any other? I think it's kind of like wraps up the question list. But any other like thoughts or stories, funny times, sad times, stressful times that you guys remembered and we didn't talk about?
As we saw more and more of the launch titles and realized that Resistance really did stand out as something unique, it was cool, and it made all the pain worth it.
I remember especially those like from Manchester for the next like 3 levels, just kind of like this amazing experience. Like I couldn't put it down as I was playing it. I'd played it like 100 times.
I think we said it's like, oh, but we wanted to get in this and this and this that didn't get in, and that kind of thing, and yeah, I think I was a little bit bummed, but it's funny now going back and playing it. I replayed it a year or a year and a half ago. It's a really fun game, and it still stands up, I think, really well.